everyone, and welcome back to Fully Playable Games. So on today's video we are going to be doing a review of the new Minecraft movie. So I have literally just got back from the cinema when I'm recording this. So when you see the video, it will be the day before that I went to the cinema. And yeah, this has been a film. Originally I wasn't actually going to go and see it at the cinema, but the little one really wanted to go and see it, so I took them to see it. And yeah, so I had seen the original teaser trailer that they brought out for the film, and I will admit I was not impressed by that teaser trailer. It did not sell me on the film in the slightest. So I was going into this film with very, very low expectations, and yeah, we'll see how those expectations played out as we go on. But before we get into the story of the film, let's quickly have a look at who's actually in the film. So there are 6 main live action actors in the film. And we start off with Jack Black, who is playing Steve. And Steve's an expert crafter who has spent years living in the overworld. Then Jason Momoa, who plays Garrett the Garbage Man Garrison. And he is a video game store owner and former video game champion of the game Hulk City Rampage, which is a game that was created specifically for the Minecraft movie. Then Sebastian Hassan plays Harry, who is Natalie's creative younger brother. And then we've got Emma Myers, who I spent the whole film trying to work out who she was and where I'd seen her before. She actually plays Enid in the TV series Wednesday. She plays Natalie, who is Henry's older sister and legal guardian. Then we've got Daniela Brooks, who plays Dawn, a real estate agent who runs a mobile petting zoo. And then finally, we've got Jennifer Coolidge. For the older people watching, she plays Stifler's mum, and she plays Vice Principal Marlene. And she actually falls in love with a villager that strays through a portal from the overworld into the real world. And she is basically one of the side characters who you see sort of throughout the film. So, getting into the story itself. Now, personally, I think the story was a bit all over the shop. But yeah, we'll go through the main plot of the story. So the film opens on a childhood Steve who is dressed up as a miner and wants to basically get into the miner and fulfill a dream of basically becoming a miner. The mine owner basically chases Steve off, and then he grows up, becomes a doorknob salesman, and then one day decides he is going to fulfill that dream to become a miner. And basically runs into the mine, starts mining, and while he's down there, he actually unearths a couple of things. So he unearths the Orb of Dominance, as well as the Earth Crystal. And once he combines them, it actually opens a portal through to the overworld. And while he's in the overworld, he's creating, building, and one day he stumbles across a nether portal. And then once he steps through the nether, he is seized by Malgosha, the piglin ruler of the Nether, who is seeking to basically destroy the overworld. And to prevent that, Steve basically sends his dog Dennis off with the Orb of Dominance and the Earth Crystal, and sends him back to the real world to hide the crystal and the orb. Years later, Garrett basically goes to a storage unit auction and actually buys the contents of Steve's old house. While searching through them, he finds the orb and the crystal. And then later on, Henry and Natalie arrive in town to start their new life, unfortunately after their mother passed away. Henry, on his way to school, heads into Gareth's video game store. And later, after a makeshift rocket pack that he built goes awry, he actually phones Garrett to get him out of trouble and basically pick him up from school. And once heading back to Garrett's shop, he finds the orb and the crystal, combines them, which then lead them back to the mine. And at what point Natalie and Dawn arrive in search of Henry, and they all get sucked into the portal and brought through to the overworld. And while they're there, the first night that they're there, Henry learns how to build a wooden fortress. While trying to head inside, Garrett accidentally breaks the Earth Crystal. And then the following day, once the sun arrives, Steve approaches everyone and tells them that they have to go to the Woodland Mansion to replace the crystal. Once arriving at the mansion, Steve and Garrett attempt to distract the inhabitants, and Henry acquires both the Earth Crystal as well as an Ender Portal. Malgosia arrives, steals the orb to power a super Nether Portal, and thence declaring war on the overworld, which then left to Steve, Henry, Natalie, Dawn and Garrett to craft several weapons and an army of iron golems to attack and basically save the overworld. Once they save the overworld, the five then return to Earth and start living a prosperous life once they get back. That is basically the quick telling of the story. Now, I will admit there was a couple of really obvious bits that I just didn't understand why they did it. So first off, when Steve is explaining to the rest of the group about the Woodland Mansion, one thing he says is that each floor contains a different type of mob. He says that the first floor contains Vindicators, the second floor is Invokers, and the third floor has got Endermen. Now, obviously, for those of you that haven't played the game, that is completely wrong. Endermen don't actually spawn in the Woodland Mansion, and that it was basically a way for the filmmakers to shoehorn the Endermen into the film, because otherwise you would have never seen an Enderman. There was none actually in the overworld like they do in the game. You will sporadically see Endermen around the overworld. They didn't have any of that. The only place you saw an Enderman was actually on the top floor of the Woodland Mansion, which, yeah, really didn't make sense, and not too sure why they did that. And then for me, there was a lot missing. So obviously they don't go to the end at all. The only time you see the Nether is a couple of times when you're seeing the piglins before they manage to get through the Nether portal to the overworld, and right at the beginning when Steve discovers it and travels through. The rest of the group never go to the Ender, and yeah, it's not somewhere that is widely explored, because when Steve goes through the portal, he's essentially in a Nether. The portal's in the middle of a Nether fortress, and that's it. You don't see anywhere else. You don't see any of the other biomes in the Nether fortress, and even in the overworld. There's probably only, I want to say there's only about 2 biomes that really show you in the overworld. So yeah, there was a lot that they could have done. And yeah, the fact that there was no mention of the end, literally no intent, nothing mentioned about it. They don't need to go there, nothing. The only thing that's in the film that has got any relevance to the end is that at one point Steve pulls out 2 elytra and basically gives them to Henry and Garrett to escape basically a piglin horde. So yeah, I think that was a real sort of missed opportunity. And then we've got the CGI characters. So I will admit, when I first saw these characters, because I mean, I'd seen a couple of thumbnails for the film, which had the characters in, and yeah, for me, they just looked like fever dreams. They were, I don't know, they were just sort of in that uncanny valley and just looked unsettling is probably the best word. I will admit, as I was watching the film, they did kind of grow on me. So in the film, you've got basically 4 mobs really that appear, or 4 of the dangerous mobs. So there was other mobs that you saw. I think you might have seen a bee once. I don't actually remember seeing it in the film. You've got, I think we saw one sheep, and I don't think I saw a cow. You got wolves in it. I saw there's a couple of wolves, and then you have got villagers as well. But yeah, it is just it just seems to be lacking. Do you know what I mean? All of the history that's been put into Minecraft and it just seems very, very focused on what they were doing. So with the actual dangerous mobs, so the first ones that I want to talk about is the creepers. Now, this was one of the early sort of dangerous mobs that I saw, and I have to admit they just looked too warm and fluffy for me. Is probably the best way to describe it. And I think the big difference that I found in the film to the game when it comes to the creepers was obviously in the game. The big part of them is that they creep up behind you and explode. Whereas in the film, they only seem to explode once hit. So yeah, that I thought was really... I mean, the first scene that you actually saw a creeper was when the group had actually gone through. It's that first night that they're there. And you've got Jason Momoa there or Garrett standing there. And then you see a creeper walk round the back of a hedge and approach him. And as he's walking through, you can say, right, he's going to start ticking in a minute. He's going to start ticking. And he doesn't. He literally stands right behind Garrett and doesn't do anything. And it's only when Garrett gets startled, swings round and hits him, that he then starts ticking. And I'm like, yeah, all right. That to me just took out the creepers. And at one point, the characters, so you've got Steve, Garrett and Henry, they are on a minecart going through this cave. And then there's a stretch of track that doesn't have redstone on it. So the carriage basically comes to a stop. And the torch has gone out. So they relight the torch. And it's basically in a creeper farm. And nothing happens. So the only time that those creepers explode is when basically a piglin brute is coming through and starts hitting them, and then they start exploding. So yeah, I thought I didn't like the way that they'd set up the creepers in the film. I think that it was, for me, the bit as a fan of Minecraft and a sort of spending over a decade playing Minecraft. The fear of a creeper comes from the fact that they sort of sneak up behind you and literally you hear them, a lot of the time you hear them before you see them. And yeah, so I didn't like that. Then we got the skeletons, which I thought they looked okay. And that is as far as I can go with it. They looked okay. I think the thing that I was unsure about is the face. So yeah, it is a very, very horror-inducing face. And I think that's the best way that I sort of can describe this film, especially with the mobs, is that it's more of a horror film when you've got the mobs involved. So yeah, the skeletons, I thought they were okay. You did see a point at the beginning where you had the skeletons riding on spiders, which was really good. I thought the best looking mobs out of all of them were the piglins. So the piglins play basically a massive part of the film. You've got basically the piglin ruler is the central villain of the film. And yeah, it was, I'd say that the piglins were probably the best looking mobs that they put in the film. And then the last ones were the zombies. And oh my God, these are, yeah. I just got one question. Why do the zombies and the baby zombies look like the Hulk? And I'm like, it just looks like a scaled down version of the Hulk. And yeah, I didn't like the zombies at all. I really didn't. It just does not look right. It really doesn't. I don't get me wrong. I don't know how they could have modeled the zombies for me to actually like them. But yeah, don't make them look like the Hulk. And then to sort of finish off with regards to sort of the CGI characters, one thing I was really disappointed about is that the film basically created other versions of the piglins. So there were essentially 4 different piglins. So you had the baby, the normal piglins, then sort of like a piglin sort of warrior, and then like a piglin brute up top, which was like this massive thing. And that was used as basically the big boss. I think they really, really missed a trick by not having the wither. That would have been absolutely amazing to have seen the wither in the film, even if it was just fighting as a part of the final battle. But yeah, it wasn't great. And actually, one other sort of dangerous mob that was in there was the ghast, but they were basically used as hot air balloons throughout the film. So yeah, it is just, I don't know. I just don't know why they made the choices that they did with regards to the sort of the mobs that were in the game, in the film, sorry. And yeah, so to sort of wrap up this video, because I don't want it going on for too long, the story to me just seemed forced and not really relative to the Minecraft game. I don't think that the backstory for Steve was really needed. Like the sort of Steve as a kid, then becoming a doorknob salesman, and then finally discovering these items to get into the overworld. Yeah, I just don't think it sort of worked in that way. Now, obviously, don't get me wrong. They've got to sort of get Steve from the real world into Minecraft. Totally agree with that. I don't think this was the best. And I think the story overall it just wasn't great. So I think for me, the story would have been better if, for starters, they had literally focused more on the game. So essentially, follow Steve as he's trying to survive the overworld. That is Minecraft. You are playing the game to survive the overworld. And then as he is surviving the overworld, he's building his bases, he's heading to the Nether for resources, ultimately to head to the end, to defeat the Ender Dragon, who is basically pillaging the overworld. Now, there can be creative liberties. So obviously the Ender Dragon never attacked the overworld, but in the film, that could be a reason why the player is going after the Ender Dragon. So yeah, I just think that the story could have been taken in a completely different way. I will say the film I did enjoy the film, but the only points that I actually enjoyed the film were when there were no live action actors on the screen. I just thought that Jason Momoa and Jack Black felt like the sort of slapstick side characters that you chuck into a kid's film to make the kids laugh. In Jack Black's case, Steve should have been the main character who was leading the rest of the group to safety. And it just did not feel like that. Now, I'll be honest, I have always been a massive fan of Jack Black. I've sort of waned on him quite a bit over the last probably year and a half. I just think he just seems to have gone off the deep end. I don't know why. He might be going through a midlife crisis or something like that. I don't know, but he just seems to have just gone off the deep end, really. And yeah, it really shows, because this wasn't a Jack Black performance that I'm used to. It was, I don't want to say it was stupid, because that has always been Jack Black. Jack Black has been a very sort of, he's always played the very sort of stupid characters in a certain way. But I grew up with the sort of, I watched Jack Black for the sort of the Tenacious D, the School of Rock, and all of those sort of characters. Whereas Steve does not seem to be doing, like, that doesn't seem to be any of it. And I think what did really get to me with the Steve character was there was 3 parts of the film where, obviously, with it being Jack Black, he's got to sing. So Steve is there breaking into song. And I'm like, I come to watch a Minecraft movie, not a musical. If I'd wanted a musical, I'd have gone next door and watched Snow White. And that is, to be quite honest, I'm very close to comparing the films. It was, I just thought it was awful. I thought the whole setup of the film, the live action cast. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some really talented actors there in the live action cast. I just thought that they were for the characters that they created, they were completely miscast. It just did not work with those characters. And yeah, Jason Momoa's character was once again awful. Like you see Jason Momoa and you picture him in all of these films. Not Seaman, Aquaman. And like he is a sort of heroic character. Whereas in Minecraft, he is the sort of bumbling, cowardly sidekick. And yeah, it just did not fit the actor. And then yeah, the film as the story as a whole just seems to have been developed for a young audience, sort of kids up to about sort of 14, 15. And it just feels that it doesn't really include the long-term fans of Minecraft. So those that have been playing the game for sort of well over a decade and have been excited to see Minecraft on the big screen, it just seems to have completely forgotten about them and is just going out to get as many kids into the cinemas as they can. And yeah, because of that, I just can't rate this film. Now, I know that there are people out there that are rating it. I think if I looked earlier on, I think it's got a 6.1 on IMDb. And yeah, but I think for me, it is going to be a 4 out of 10. And I think that is being generous. I literally could not wait to get out of this film. For me, it was just cringe-inducing, a lot of it. And I constantly I was looking over at the little one, and they were laughing their head off at it. And I'm like, I don't know whether to fall asleep, get up and walk out, or just sort of give up on life. So yeah, I'll be honest, I got exactly what I was expecting. I was not expecting, after that first trailer, I had next to no expectations on this film. And it lived up to those expectations because it was truly awful. And yeah, it was such a disappointment. The little one was telling me before we went in that I was getting really good reviews, like 7, 8s, and I'm like, well, maybe I've misread the trailer and it's gonna be good. And literally within the first 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, it's exactly what I was expecting. I'm done. And yeah, as I say, as a fan of Minecraft, I was so disappointed with this. I really was. And yeah, I just sort of, I don't really know what else to say. But yeah, it was so disappointing for me. And I think that they could have taken the story in a whole raft of different directions. And it would have made the film 100 times better. But yeah, it just seemed that, as I say, the main actors, so you've got Jason Momoa and you've got Jack Black, as I say, they just seem to be slapsticks. And that's not what I expected from Steve, the central character in Minecraft. And yeah, very disappointed with it. So I'm going to leave it there. I think I've berated this film long enough. But let me know in the comments down below. Have you seen it? Are you going to go and see it? And if you have seen it, let me know what you think of it. And yeah, with that said, as I say, I am going to wrap the video up there. But before you head off, if you did enjoy the video, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're not already, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell to be kept up to date when I upload new videos just like this one. And yeah, with that said, thank you so much for watching today. Really hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, bye.